this idea of doing an independent review, a review that you could be independent and walk into an organisation and really make change and kind of persuade and influence those leaders to change their priorities. So we're trying to create that environment that is safe, that they feel that they can invest in, they're going to be heard. And that's the role of the independent reviewer. I just knew I wanted to be an independent reviewer. I always thought it would just be me out there traveling around the country, getting involved with different organisations. But there was just too much work. There were too many reviews, and I wanted everybody to have an opportunity to work in the way that I do.
Hi, Donna. It's great to have you here on the Blue Light Leavers podcast. Thanks so much for agreeing to be interviewed. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Andy. Thank you for having me.
Not at all. Now, as we sort of move through this, it'd be really good to understand a bit more about you and your current role, what it is that you're currently doing.
Okay. Well, I started off, I qualified as a solicitor, and I got involved in criminal law. I got involved in children's safeguarding, which I did most of, and I did some adult safeguarding. And it changed very much working in local government as I became more and more senior. So I became more and more involved in working with politicians and the leaders. So it was quite political. And I guess that Andy brought me to the place of knowing what I really wanted to do, which I'm sure your audience will resonate with, doing
Definitely.
one thing to understand what you really want to do.
Yeah.
And what I used to watch was that leaders were always juggling their priorities. They had to select between a number of priorities to commit to. And it just was really striking to me that this idea of doing an independent review, a review that you could be independent and walk into an organisation and really make change and kind of persuade and influence those leaders to change their priorities. So it was all of that really that led me to really getting interested in reviews.
Mm-hmm. And so what's happened from that point then? How has that career path taken you on to what you're doing now?
Okay, well, it was very, I'd love to say there was a fantastic strategy behind it, and that might also resonate with people who are thinking about careers. I just knew I wanted to be an independent reviewer. I always thought it would just be me out there traveling around the country, getting involved with different organisations. But there was just too much work. There were too many reviews, and I wanted everybody to have an opportunity to work in the way that I do. So we trademarked our methodology. We have a methodology for reviews called the SILP methodology. And we made that into a trademark, and we decided to create some training so that I could have a team of reviewers who would go out there and deliver reviews in the way that I aspired for reviews to be delivered. So the training began in 2013, so it's 10 years old now. Wow.
That's incredible. And for those that maybe don't know what an independent review is, can you just go into a bit more detail around what the role entails, and I'd be really interested to understand your driver behind it as well, what it is that's really driven you to get to this point.
Okay. So the reviews that we're talking about, Andy, are child safeguarding practice reviews. So those are the children's safeguarding ones, safeguarding adults reviews, and domestic homicide reviews. So 3 types of statutory review where a local area just is required to do that review. And the aim of it is to look at how agencies work together to safeguard or prevent situations like this occurring. So it's typically a tragedy. It's typically a bad set of circumstances where somebody has suffered neglect, abuse, or possibly death. Those are the situations that we're working in, and those are the situations that I think a lot of your audience are quite familiar with working in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. No, we will do, and of lots of different ranks as well, obviously involved in that process. And So for those that maybe don't understand what the review entails, could you go into a bit more detail around what the review process is, Donna? That'd be really helpful.
Yeah, so within a partnership, so these partnerships exist within each of the local areas, and they make a decision that this review is required. Now, what can be around that, Andy, might be it might be media interest. It might all ramp up the pressure around those who were involved at the time, and those who were involved at the time on the front line may feel exposed. They may feel, is this going to be about blame? They need the right kind of leaders to support them and say, we support you to go into this review and learn openly. We're not going to lean on you to say the right thing about us. So the people who might be involved in those reviews might be police officers, they might be health professionals, and they might be social work professionals. And then there are all sorts of other agencies. It might be a housing professional, an education professional, or like my background, a legal professional. We bring all these people around the table to talk about what happened at the time. And it's our job to create an environment that has the most reduced scope for blame. I won't say no blame, because those people might bring their own sense of blame about this. So we're trying to create that environment that is safe, that they feel that they can invest in, they're going to be heard. And that's the role of the independent reviewer. And then the independent reviewer will go away and write a report that hopefully makes some recommendations that everyone involved in that review can really sign up to, really feel part of, that they've created some positive change.
That must be incredibly difficult, actually, going into some of these organizations. And, understandably, you're going to be met with a degree of skepticism because people are going to be very defensive, and they're, getting over being able to build that trust and those relationships and getting over that blame, finger pointing, this is what happened and you're to blame type stuff. That must be, how do you go about developing those relationships and building that trust? Because understandably, people would be quite defensive about their actions.
It's a really good question. I think that we're walking into an organisation where we don't know how supported they've been. We don't know if they've got that top-down blessing from the leaders to say, I'm ready for you to go and speak openly. We just don't know, and it's our intuition. If we sense defensiveness, that's precisely what this training that I offer is about how to create the right environment. I think the worst case scenario is that perhaps they've had a review prior to that has left them feeling very burnt. And hopefully those are the kind of conversations we'll have when we start working with that partnership. Partnerships will say, this was horrendous last time. We want you to do something different. So you go in and you try and do your best for that particular local area. I mean, you've seen all over the press, all over national media, that some local areas have really been dragged through it for situations that are happening actually all over the place. So in those kinds of areas, we know that they might have inspectors all over them. They might be carrying quite high levels of blame already.
And it's difficult as well, isn't it? Particularly for some of these organizations and, outside of policing, for example, some of our partner organizations where, like policing, we know that they're under a huge amount of pressure in terms of shrinking budgets and, struggling to get the right staff in place and all this sort of thing as well. So there's all these, you're finding there's common themes in terms of some of the, some of the reasons why things are happening as they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what you've brought through is what I would want any independent reviewer working with me to be able to bring through and be sensitive about, because we don't want a report written that hasn't taken into account all of that context. What were workloads like? What was your day like that day? Rather than just having hindsight bias and saying, well, this is what should have happened. There's no room for any of that, in my opinion, in 2023. What's the point of a review that's just taking an organisation through the mill they're on the floor and they're not really resilient again to deal with this next time. That's not what this is about.
No. So in terms of that final report, apologies if I'm jumping ahead here actually, but I think it fits really well here. So, but in terms of that final report on the feedback that organisations get and the final review that's submitted, what does that look like and what does it come with?
So what I want it to look like is that it will be proportionate. We don't want a 78-page report. We don't want a 100-page report. We want a proportionate report that is digestible by many different kinds of audience, by the public, by those in the local area, by the families affected, who have been through tragedy or trauma. We don't want large numbers of recommendations because those partnerships are already overloaded. So we want somebody who can come in and decide what the key areas are in the case, maybe 5 key areas maximum, rather than overloading with lots and lots of recommendations, which are unachievable. The partnerships have already got layers and layers of those to cut through, and so have the organisations.
Oh, absolutely. Do you find that, do they make a difference with regards to these reviews, with regards to safeguarding and domestic abuse? Do they really make a difference?
Okay, I think again that goes to the effectiveness of that particular review. So if you imagine, nobody ever wants the circumstances to arise that lead to a review. Nobody wants that to happen. But once we are there, once we're in that situation, the review can offer something better than a training opportunity, really, because it's experiential learning. So all of those that we can bring into the review from all these local agencies, they're going to get an opportunity to view the person around the table that they never knew. Oh, that's who we send referrals to. That's how this works for that agency over there that we never knew. Again, for the officers who are there, we can describe our context and we can describe the systems that we have to work with. I know some of those present huge challenges about how much information you could see when you went to visit that family home. So we're just shining a light that all the parts of the jigsaw come together, which is a really powerful part. And I think that alone, even if you haven't got a great report at the end of it, that alone it makes reviews really worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. No,
it's
absolutely.
Experiential learning.
Yeah, it makes a massive difference. And like you say, it's developing those relationships as well, isn't it? And
Absolutely.
Someone who's only been an email away and all of a sudden you're actually sort of face to face and you're having a conversation, it just makes a huge difference.
A typical one, Andy, it might be that perhaps one of the other agencies is thinking, I've made that many referrals in now about this family, nothing ever happens. I'll just give up on making these referrals, perhaps to children's social care. And actually, they actually sit in the room and they might hear about the number of referrals children's social care receive and how they have to filter through and make decisions about which one they're going to follow up. It's just being in a room together that is that great opportunity.
Yeah, I completely agree. So how then would you differentiate a really good, high quality review against something that is maybe less effective? What's the difference between what you do and maybe what someone else might do? Okay,
so I've spoken about this trademark model that we use, and there are 3 ingredients. The first one is engagement. So that's not all reviews involve direct engagement. That frontline worker, that frontline practitioner might not be brought into the review. So I want around the table the people who are actually involved at the time. So I think that engaging directly with the practitioner, engaging directly with families, it makes that a high quality review. I've spoken a little bit about proportionality. I think that we don't want loads of paperwork. This isn't about a paper exercise. This isn't about a huge, lengthy, research-based academic report. This is about plain English. It's about communicating the message and communicating the learning. So proportionality is the second point. And then thirdly, I always talk about strengths. So a lot of reviews are deficit focused. They will talk about weakness, and they're not really thinking about what was strong practice here. And I think a review should learn from strong practice as well as weak practice.
I think that's a great thing.
In terms of less effective, I think when we've got layers and layers of repetitive recommendations, we're going to lose our effect. They're all going to get lost within the partnerships, and they're just too difficult to maintain and follow up. Again, less effective is lots of paperwork. Everyone's bogged down in paper. We've made it into a very resource intensive exercise by doing that. I think that a lot of the reports don't focus on the learning. So they do a lot of talking about, on this day, this officer turned up at this time. It's very chronological. It's very factual. Whereas you just want to get to the learning.
Yeah.
Those would be my main thoughts, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, definitely. And I love the fact that there's some looking at the strengths there as well, because like you say, it's a very COPS thing in particular as well, to look at, what's not working, why something's broken, trying to fix it, and actually not looking at where we're doing stuff really, really well as well. And, within processes and what's going well. So I think to be able to do that within a review is fantastic. It'd be really good to understand the backgrounds of some of the people that you're working with. And then maybe if we can talk about some of the soft skills and the behaviors that you think are really good qualities, because I think there's going to be people listening to this that are thinking, I reckon I could do this, as maybe a career path, which is obviously where we're going with this. And so it'd be great to understand a bit more about the backgrounds of the people that you're working with and some of the skills and qualities and behaviors that they have.
Okay. Well, the main three agencies that we will recruit from, or whose backgrounds will be in, are social work backgrounds, police backgrounds, and health backgrounds. And then to a lesser extent within my cohort, we've got people from education backgrounds, or like me, legal backgrounds. The main three are those health professional, social workers, and police. Shall I tell you a little bit about what we're looking for?
Yeah, please. Yeah, that'd be great.
And you can almost, everyone can try this on to see whether they're a fit. Well, first of all, let's do the skills. You might be amazingly visionary and values led, but we do need somebody who has good project management skills. So they're going to deliver on time. They're going to set a timeline, because it's very easy to let these things drift, Andy. Yeah. And they're going to stand by that timeline. They might need quite strong leadership skills to do that, because there's all these different pressures coming in. But no, we are going to bring this review in within 6 months, and that might mean hard things to do that. We also, on the skills side, we want somebody who can adapt the style of their written work. So if they've been used to writing things up in a certain way, maybe that might lend themselves to be a bit more factual or a bit more chronology style led. We want them to be able to adapt to this style that I'm talking about, where we're focusing on analysis and learning. So quite a flexible person in terms of how you're going to be able to write up your written work. And then these are more exciting. I think the learning behaviours are really exciting, because it's something that you know about yourself straight away when you hear these. You've got to be up for just constantly being updating your knowledge about the guidance, etc. Just into your continuous personal development. And these are really important now. So what we have in our reviewer competencies is, I'll quote, holding oneself to high standards in the following. And I think this might resonate with your audience. Integrity. Understanding the family rights perspective. So that might be around, I actually don't feel that it's right to be writing out all the information about this person's medical information, because that's going to be out there in the public domain. I'm going to write this report thinking about the family rights perspective here, rather than disclose a lot of information. Yeah. And I think that might resonate with what your audience have had to do.
Yeah, certainly.
Open-mindedness and a curiosity for learning, and the courage to take a risk. and do things outside of the comfort zone. Again, this might be things that, you know, police officers have had to deal with before. How about this one? Grit and resilience, which means you can maintain your focus when challenged. So what you are recommending is quite tricky for the partnerships. You know, your recommendations are actually inviting change that feels quite difficult for them to embrace. And they might kind of be suggesting to you, no, that's not possible. There's absolutely no way that we could instill culture change like that. Whereas what you need to do as an independent reviewer is stand by your values and say, we need to make this happen. That's a leadership kind of role, isn't it?
It is, and also the ability to have those difficult conversations as well, isn't it? It's and negotiating influence, all those sort of things are some amazing soft skills there, aren't there, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
All of that. Hungry for feedback. You're going to use feedback in your review to improve what. So you might have written your first draft and the agencies are coming back saying, well, that's not particularly fair because you're saying we didn't do X, Y, and Z. And you need to also be flexible enough to say, actually, you're right. I'm going to reflect that in my report. I'm happy to change this. So there's flexibility there. You're hungry for feedback and you're going to adapt.
Again, I guess it's that it's not getting defensive over your own work as well, isn't it? It's a bit of a personality trait there as well, isn't it? You've got to be willing to be able to accept almost a little bit of criticism to say, look, you know, because you're going to put a lot of time and effort into what you've done so far.
Absolutely.
And then someone comes along and says, actually, that's not quite right. And you sort of go, okay, fair enough. And actually have the emotional intelligence to be able to recognize that and then flip it and say, absolutely, that degree of humility is, and I talk about humility so much.
Okay.
It's such a key behavior for, particularly for looking to, to transition to new careers as well. It's knowing that you've got that skills and experience, but having the humility to be able to turn around and say, look, I'm either at the start of my journey, or in this case, having that humility to go, I don't know everything. I may not have got this right. Please tell me is a really important key skill. Yeah.
And then again, probably well cultivated from this as a first career, use of critical thinking abilities. So you're going to plan for you before you undertake your piece of work and reflect on it afterwards. So you be critical about your own work, and you're going to reflect. So yeah, so those are the key ones I would bring through, really.
Yeah, fantastic. I think there's a lot of people listening to this thinking they tick some boxes for that without a shadow of a doubt. So
probably quite well versed in some of them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And in terms of policing experience to back that up, Donna, are there any particular roles that would feature better in terms of getting people, getting your attention in terms of bringing people on as as independent reviewers? Are there certain roles or ranks even that maybe tend to suit this a bit better?
So when I'm looking for whether somebody's eligible to join, it would definitely not be pinned to a rank. Absolutely not. It would be pinned to more their ability to kind of handle complex group dynamics, or to to be able to demonstrate some level of understanding of what safeguarding is about. So yeah, it's not related to rank, but there are some things that I would really be looking for that person to bring through in their application form related to some of this, really.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Definitely. No, that's fair enough. So in terms of the program that you've got coming up, should we talk about that and how you can help people to find careers as an independent reviewer? That'd be great.
Okay. What's coming up is it's our University Accredited training program. So it's called SILP School. It is 18 weeks long. So you would be involved in this particular program for 18 weeks. You need to reserve 90 minutes a week. So it's designed to fit around somebody who's has a busy life. If you pass the course, you have credits towards your master's degree with the University of Portsmouth Criminal Justice Studies. So that means you've done a chunk of your masters if you want to continue with your masters course afterwards. What you'd get at the end of that, Andy, is you are an accredited SILP reviewer. So if you want to then go on and do your independent reviews 18 weeks later, you can say, I've got this accreditation, and you can go out there independently and offer these reviews and use the methodology.
Mm-hmm.
What some people, or most people, then tend to do is come into the membership. We've got a membership then called Momentum. And those are the people who would really like to do our reviews. So week by week, we send review opportunities to your inbox, and you would have a look. You'd think, yeah, I'm interested in domestic homicide reviews. That fits my background. And you might apply through us. So it's people who perhaps haven't got the contacts yet, haven't built their own independent practice yet, and you can do the work for us. But if you do reviews with us with SILP, it doesn't mean that you couldn't also do your own reviews independently. You can have a mix, which is always helpful as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, SILP School is about to kick off. Typically, we run it twice a year.
Yeah.
And what's really great about joining at this time of year is you get a whole year in there, which means you could have 2 bites of the cherry of doing it. And that helps people if they're really busy and they haven't managed to complete it all in the first cohort.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've got those 2 areas.
Brilliant.
If you want to work with us, if you just kind of you're new to this, we've got a podcast that you can listen to. It's called the Safeguarding and Domestic Abuse Sector Podcast. And we speak to inspiring individuals, and some of them are just solo episodes from me where it's a bit of training in the episode. So that's also something that people could subscribe to or have a listen into. And I've got a free discussion group, which I think is similar to you, Andy. It's in Facebook. And I just called it the Tuesday Takeaway. So every Tuesday at 1:30, I sit there and have a bit of a natter about things that are going on, and people just comment in such an inspirational way.
Amazing.
So that's free to join if you fancy having a bit of a dip into what's going on in the world of reviews, and you're not sure if you want to commit yet.
And what's the name of the Facebook group, Don?
The name of the Facebook group it's called Leaders in Review Practice. So what you do is you request to join, and we ask you a couple of questions to make sure you're coming from the right place, and you'd be able to enjoy the group, and then we would allow you in.
Amazing, great stuff. Oh, that sounds fantastic. If people want to find out more about SILP School and pricing and any sort of whatever is involved and timing wise, where are they going to find more information about SILP School? So
more information on the website, www.reviewconsulting.co.uk/SILP, SILP.
Yeah.
But if also you could follow me on LinkedIn and DM me if you just want to book a call and have a chat. I think that when people are making big decisions like this, it's great to have all the details there, and of course you'll find everything in there. But there would never be an occasion where somebody's making a step like this and they wouldn't have an opportunity to sit down with me as well. Because we've got 100% pass rate in that course. We've been doing it for 10 years. Now I think that's because we wouldn't let you be incorrectly placed. I don't think that would work for you or for us. So if you were going to not be able to get something from the course, if I didn't think you were going to be able to pass the course, I would tell you in that call. Yeah. I think it's worth the investment of my time to do that. Yeah, great. Yeah, absolutely. It's and that's a really nice thing to do as well. It shows the sort of values and ethics behind that as well. So that's lovely. And I guess with Momentum membership as well, is that something that follows on as a result of doing that program? And so is that, will they find information out through SILP School? Or? I haven't told you enough about Momentum really, because it's a great space. Most of the time people do SILP School and then they would go into Momentum. So it's the place to go afterwards. And it's where all the experienced reviewers are. And we only meet quarterly. But when we do meet, we talk about a case. So it's that experiential learning again, Andy. We're saying this is a case that we've been working on. We anonymise it all, of course. and we all kind of sit and offer our own perspectives on what we think might have happened. And close to the hearts of what some people listening today might be interested in, the one that we're doing in April is about a review that ran alongside criminal proceedings, and the challenges that having to meet the objectives of both of those two brought. So yeah, we just troubleshoot, we say what we've tried. And this offer at the moment does include not only your SILP score for a year, but you have a free year in Momentum. So it is a really great time to join. We've never done that before, and we're trialing it now.
Fantastic. Oh, sounds amazing. That's really exciting. Something that cropped up as well while you're talking is that it popped into my head with regards to maybe people who have that safeguarding background and they've got some experience and knowledge and potentially been involved in reviews at some point. And they think this is a really good career path for them, but actually undertaking their first review themselves. So how does it work? Do you all go in as a team, or how does it, how does it actually work out in terms of resourcing these reviews?
Okay, that's a great question. Why didn't I think of that? So one of my values as well, when I first started in 2009, it was obviously not a program like this. There was no training. And being an independent reviewer was quite a lonely occupation. So you are in a challenging environment. You might not be experienced. You might not be trained. You're having a go at this. And it was a very lonely place. Nobody was there really to talk to who understood what it's like to be in that environment. And so now part of my value set is that it should never be a reviewer on their own. So for every SILP review, there is a reviewer and a mentor. The first time as a brand new reviewer you go in, you would be mentored, which means there's somebody in the background for everything that crops up. You say, I need two heads on this. Two heads are better than one. Can I really stand by this point? Because everyone's saying I can't. And that is just so valuable for somebody to be in the background saying, look, this is the bigger picture, and this is what I can offer from my experience. So yeah, you are mentored in every SILP review that you do. Yeah,
great stuff. And that's that. So
that's what's
it's that QA. Yeah,
yes.
Fantastic. It's that quality assessing as well, isn't it, to make sure that that's fantastic. That's lovely. That will give people some reassurance as well. Now, something I should have probably asked right at the beginning is, what does SILP stand for? SILP. What does it stand for?
So that was developed back in 2009. It is Significant Incident Learning Process. And what that means is, quite a few people who've come through the programme have decided that they're going to train in SILP and apply it to other types of situations. So other types, I think people have used it in mental health reviews. I think they've used it in certain types of housing reviews as well. So it might be that you undertake this training and you use what you've learned. You use this learning event model. You use your chairing skills and other things you might do in your independent career.
Yeah, I think it's. I think obviously clearly really good methodology, and yeah, I think this is really exciting. I think there's a lot of people are going to be very excited by this and the opportunity of working with you as well. And
I hope so. I'd love to meet some of those people. That would be fantastic.
Incredible. Great stuff. Is there anything that I've missed? Anything that you feel I should have asked that I haven't asked?
No, I don't think so. I think that was really comprehensive. Thank you.
Great stuff. Yeah, no worries. I know put you on the spot about a couple of things as well as sort of coming to mind. So no, I appreciate that. I don't know about that. Donna, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. It's a fantastic interview. And what I'll do, I'll obviously put all the links in the show notes as well. And we'll put them out within the Facebook group as well and on LinkedIn. So people can obviously connect with you via LinkedIn and through the website as well, obviously. So thank you so much for your time. Really good of you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy.
I really hope you found that helpful, and it was great speaking to Donna today, and just really inspirational and so much great information. A really good career path for cops to follow. So if you like what you've heard, don't forget that you can leave a review. You can go to Spotify and Apple and leave a review there, and it really helps to get the message out that this podcast exists. And don't forget to share it amongst your friends and colleagues as well. And if you want to find out more about SILP School, then you can follow the link within the podcast show notes below. And what you can also do is go to bluelightlevers.com and scroll down the page and you'll see a link to SILP School there as well, and find out some more information. And obviously Donna's given some details as to how you can contact her within a podcast episode as well. So as always, thanks so much for listening. Really do appreciate it. And we'll speak again soon. Take care. Bye for now.